Good evening, welcome to Stick 7 Hail Hail. I'm hosting tonight with Hamish. Hamish was at the game this evening. I'm at home, stuck switching my accommodation, Hamish. So it's stressful enough in this house at the moment this week, without the added stress of watching Celtic in Europe. Certainly added a little bit more excitement, a little bit more stress this evening. You're in Glasgow outside Celtic Park. How are you feeling immediately after that?
Despondent. Is it too early for that joke, John?
I wasn't going to say anything, but now you mention it.
Yeah, no, I'm actually not, believe it or not, but I sense a bit of certainly frustration in the air here. Frustrating probably kind of covers the 90 minutes for me. Probably not quite as down as a bit of the reaction I've seen from people. I can see the comments here, and I think a lot of people are quite very frustrated. I would say maybe even. I'm not going to use fancy words, John, because it's not been a good week for that, so I'll move on for that bit. But I think in general, a frustrating night. We had chances in the game, but equally, I think if you're totally fair looking at the match, a draw is fair. And if anything, Shakhtar had that major chance, and we could have been on the end of another defeat.
So if you're living under a rock, I should mention that Celtic were playing Shakhtar Donetsk at Celtic Park tonight. Drew
why
1-1.
Why would they be here if they hadn't seen the game?
Well,
maybe
that's
they just
true.
love us.
Maybe they just like our patter, which is very doubtful. Finished 1-1, goals from Georgios Giacomakis and Mikhailo Mudryk. Where do you want to start here, Hamish? Because there's a fair bit to go into. Like, even the way the team's set up, it was something unusual in terms of having Kyogo in one of those more advanced midfield positions behind Giacomakis with Haksabanovic out in the wing. How did you feel about the team's performance, in that first half and the way the team set up?
Yeah, I felt like we had a deserved lead in the first half. You look at what Ange tried, and I think when we saw the team coming out, we all did feel it would be Kyogo on the left. So I was certainly a bit surprised with the way we lined up. It was kind of with Kyogo playing behind Giacomakis, wasn't it? And got my doubts on whether that worked. I don't feel that it gets the best out of Kyogo. Passing is not Kyogo's forte, and I felt like the amount of times he got the ball and he was having to pass it on, whereas you really want him in behind. But I suppose on the other side, Giacomakis, who may not have started, had Kyogo played normally, gets the goal, and I felt Haksabanovic, who would normally have played centrally or has been playing centrally, I thought was maybe our best player in the first half, certainly our biggest threat in the left hand side. It's his ball for the goal. So I felt overall, first half, after a pretty lively start, like a lot of our games, we maybe fell away from it slightly. They had a really long spell of possession that I felt quietened everyone down, but at the end of that first half, I felt for the first time, real kind of fireworks in a Celtic Champions League match, under Postecoglou. I felt that was the first real taste that he will have got and the players will have got of what a Champions League night can really be like at Celtic Park when you're winning and when you have the opposition in the back foot. I felt at times in that first half it was really good.
I think the theory behind Kyogo starting there, it felt like, was just to really go after Shakhtar in the first 10 minutes with really high pressing, like with more players and Kyogo kind of going beyond, what Haksabanovic or Moy might have done in terms of pressing the goalkeeper, pressing the defenders, etc. And to an extent, I did feel that worked in that first 15-minute period. And then, like you mentioned, I felt like we almost dropped out the game a little bit, and so did they, to be fair. I don't think either team really managed to get a grip of the game for the first half an hour until we scored our goal, basically. And I mean, the goal comes, everyone's saying it's a big slice of luck, but as Ange would tell you, you make your own luck, don't you? And I think we have deserved it along the way, and I think the ball breaking to Giacomakis doesn't come from an outright error on their part. It was actually Lila Bada coming in centrally again, getting onto the end of another low cross, and we've just been waiting for a moment like that, and thankfully Giacomakis actually took the opportunity this time.
Yeah, something I wanted to ask you, just going off topic in terms of especially that first half, you probably got a better view watching the game on telly. Our pressing's different in the Champions League to domestically. Domestically, we go after the opposition. I know Kyogo and Giacomakis don't play together, but say they did, they would both be charging after players. Giakoumakis was doing it tonight in the first half, and Kyogo was obviously that bit deeper, and I didn't really feel he was pressing at all. I know that's because you're up against better opposition. If you really do go after them, you can get picked off and they can counter on you. But I just find it frustrating. It was the same in the Leipzig game. You really feel here with the support that you want us charging after the opposition, because I felt that when we did do it tonight, we got the ball back quickly. I didn't think they were nearly as good as Leipzig playing out from the back, and certainly not as good as Real Madrid. But we just, for me, our pressing's just a little bit off at this level.
Yeah, just everything feels a little bit off. Like, just even when we're in possession, like maybe taking one too many touches or trying to play a cuter past them and really need to.
Yeah.
I felt like there was a lot of times tonight there was a fairly simple but effective ball on a lot of the times, and we were just trying to tuck it around the corner or trying to flick it on, and it was that kind of pattern that was frustrating me more than anything, especially in that second half, especially after the substitutions were made, where I feel like we really, it was really end to end at that point and could have really been won by either team. But I do feel like they deserved a goal in the game, and it again comes from such a frustrating situation in terms of we had possession high up the park, set piece situations, kind of not really dealing with the ball and trying to be too clever poking it forward when we could have just kept safe possession. They get Mudryk away and he's lightning fast. I mean, he looks quick on the TV, but I'd imagine even in person, Hamish, he just looks absolutely 100 miles an hour.
I know it's probably not what people kind of want us to chat about, but can we spend a wee second talking about how good that guy is? Because he is honestly, I'm telling you, a few years from now, he's going to be playing with a top European team, like a top team, because he is amazing. That run he had in the second half when Carter Vickers would probably have got sent off had he connected with him. I think that's the one that the guy misses, the incredible sitter that we'll probably talk about as well. But that goal from Mudryk, I mean, you don't get that domestically. That's just world class. I mean, I get it. It's really frustrating. Hatate it wasn't it? It gave it away. My other frustration there, and I'll need to see it back. You might be able to tell me. I wanted Juranovic to just slide in. Worst case scenario, get a booking. I don't feel we do that enough. The amount of times that we allow the opposition to counter on us, when I would just like to see us take a booking now and again. Every other team in this group has done it to us.
Yeah, Mudryk actually, I think it was his first or second touch. It kind of gets away from him a little bit, and it felt like Juranovic had the opportunity to go in and get it. But then at the same time, like I was thinking that at the time too, and then 5 minutes later, Cameron Carter-Vickers does do that, and he just flicks over him and gets away anyway. So, it is difficult. I did want him to at least make the attempt to the tackle, because I think sitting off him, it was just inviting pressure. He seems to have that ability to score from, it was just a powerful strike. The miss was the only saving grace of their miss, was, or Kyogo's miss as well, was that we've finally seen a miss that's worse than ours in the Champions League this season, because we've had many opportunities. As I just said, Kyogo missed a golden opportunity that really should have had us 2-1 ahead. And then is that the worst miss you've ever seen at Celtic Park?
Yeah, at full stop, I was saying that to the guys. I mean, Iwelumo is the one people always talk about, obviously wasn't here, but it was one of those crazy ones, because like the ball goes across and you've already accepted your fate. You're thinking everything's going through your mind a million miles an hour, another defeat, etc. And his touch was just, it was probably too much in the past from Mudryk if you're being ultra critical of him. Maybe if he takes a bit off and the guy's touch is huge and then he's scampering away, and you suddenly think, oh my God, this isn't going to go in, and it drops wide. And I think the whole stadium got a boost at that stage. The atmosphere really improved, and they didn't really do anything after that, did they? I mean, it was all us, but I mean, what did you make of the last kind of 10-15 minutes? For me, it was just really frustrating. I'm going to sleep tonight and have nightmares of Moy and Forrest down that right wing playing kind of reverse passes to each other. I mean, I thought Forrest was good tonight when he came on, actually, but those two and everyone, it felt like a real lack of creativity in that final third. I mean, we could still be there now and we wouldn't have scored yet.
Yeah, just a little bit ponderous in that regard. I mean, it felt good that we were putting the pressure on them. It wasn't like they were penning us in and going for the win. And obviously, we really needed the victory to kind of stay in Europe. And ultimately, that's the disappointing thing here. We're not just out of the Champions League now. We're out of Europe. We're going to the Bernabeu with literally nothing to play for but pride and progress, really. So that's going to be a difficult night for the players with that context, because they're not fighting for anything. I know Real Madrid aren't really fighting for anything, are they? So it's kind of like it's a dead rubber situation almost, and I think up against a team of Real Madrid's quality, that's a difficult situation.
Well, they're still playing to win the group, I suppose. After tonight's
Yeah.
result, they lost, didn't they? So they've got more to play for than us. So I mean, that game will take care of itself. What are your takeaways? Just that we're not at this level yet. Is it as simple as that?
Just that we seem on the verge of like getting to a situation where we can win matches in this tournament, but I do think we're just not there for whatever reason, whether it's like not having the confidence or not having the kind of quality of player that has the swagger at this level. It's really hard to put your finger on because I don't think we played terribly tonight. I think we could have been better in that second half. We could have been better when the substitutions come on. I think there was a drop off there. But I think overall, in all the games, really, we've gone through periods where we've competed well against these teams and just unfortunately not been able to capitalise on it. It's such a hard one to put your finger on.
Yeah.
If we were getting thumped every week and really getting battered, you would say like we're miles off here and we've got so much work to do. But you just feel like maybe 2 or 3 better quality of signings over the next 12 months can maybe bring us to a new level, or I'm not really sure what's needed here, or to get to there. Or I'd really want to hear what Ange says about it, like in a candid manner, like what's his honest assessment here? Where does he feel like we need improvement? Because that's the kind of guidance we're looking for. Because I don't have the expertise or knowledge to know what we need to get to there. And I don't know if it's just down to this experience thing that Ange says, or what it is, but we're just not quite there yet, unfortunately.
I mean, Ange's takeaway is going to be the same as it has been all the way through, that we've been in every game and we're not a million miles away. But I don't know. I mean, I didn't come away from the game tonight particularly gutted. I think I'd kind of made my peace with how this campaign had gone after probably the Leipzig home game. Tonight was a point. My feeling tonight is it could have been better, it could have been worse, to be honest. And I know people may look at that as being defeatist. I'm not saying I'm happy with a draw, but we didn't lose and we've lost a lot of games. For me, the big takeaway, at this level is just the fitness. Like, we seem at every game, I think, almost, especially the home games, we've been a different team in the second half to the first half, and every home game we've come out really quickly and had chances at the start of them every game. And the second half, it just feels as if we're kind of running on empty at the end of matches, and we don't have that player that can come up with that bit of magic. And it's disappointing for me, because I really hoped that and I felt that we really did have players at this level, and players like O'Reilly and Hatate, who I think have been great players for Celtic so far, and Kyogo, and it's just not happened for any of those players or any other ones so far in this campaign. And is it just that these guys maybe aren't quite as good as we think? I don't think so. I honestly think these guys, Kyogo, Hatate, O'Reilly, Jota, I know we've not seen a lot of him in the group stage, but these guys are good enough for this level. We know they are. I know they haven't proven it, but we know that they will be able to play at this level. But maybe it's just not this season. Maybe it's a case of, we just take our medicine for this group stage campaign, put all focus into winning the league, and come back next year and try it again. The frustration is that we're probably not going to get as easy a group next year, are we? Let's be honest. And you could end up with like a horror group and fourth place again. It's a really difficult place we find ourselves in. But it's better than being in the Europa League. Let's not get away with it. Being in the Champions League is it's not a crisis. This, I mean, people probably feel downbeat coming away today, but Celtic are far from in a bad place. It's just a bit frustrating, these games.
I don't think there's any need for a post-mortem. It's one of those ones you kind of like. We're just going to have to focus fully again on domestic stuff and hope again. By winning the league, hopefully, fingers crossed, that we obviously that'll give us qualification again next year, and you hope that back-to-back stuff helps us push on in a couple of departments. There's a couple of things like transfer and recruitment wise, in the sense that we're not having to pay for Carter Vickers, we wouldn't have to be paying for Jota, so immediately that frees up resources to bring in a couple of really good players, hopefully. I'm going to bring in some comments here, if you don't mind, Hamish, just to kind of round things off today, because there's been a few sensible ones, shall we say. which I'm not sure if is a regular thing for the channel or just tonight.
Not really. They tend to not be very sensible, these guys and girls.
James Kerr here. We played well for large spells. We are not far off, to be fair. The boy Mudrick has been the difference both times we've played them. He is world class and he punished us. Hail 1888 says it's like watching the first part of Rocky over and over again. Start great, then sucker punch before the end. We just need the happy ending now, don't we? We just need the ending to Rocky, not just the middle part. Got Tip Fan Man. Result isn't what we wanted, but that was a super game to watch. At any minute, it looked like Celtic might find a way to find the killer ball, but then they might catch us on the break. I do think, and it feels silly saying this because I don't want to sound too condescending for the way people feel, because I know people are disappointed, but it was a really exciting game of football, and I know the ultimate feeling is of frustrating. But as a 90 minutes, I think if a neutral was watching that, they would have loved it. Obviously, doesn't really help us in this moment, but I do think that is worth pointing out. It was a hell of a game of football.
It's interesting we've not had the major high-scoring game we were all predicting from the group stage. Now, I say that ahead of next Wednesday night, but I think we were all expecting some 4-3s and 3-2s, and it's not really happened in this campaign. I'm quite surprised at that. I expected us to score more goals and probably concede more as well. But that's how I think. I feel like I just want to kind of get on with the domestic season, try and win this league, and kind of already over this, to be honest.
Darth List 87, we are lacking the composure with the ball in the final third. Nobody wanted to step up and control the game. I do actually agree with that. Well, that was a major frustration for me. It was just, we just couldn't seem to find, the sensible ball in those moments that would have helped us either gain a further foothold in that final third or unlocked a runner or something. We're just kind of almost trying to force it in a way. Another point I want to make is that the set pieces were really poor across the board tonight.
Corners. Every corner was first man.
Yeah. Christopher Curry, so proud of the lads today. They gave everything. No McGregor, no Jota. What a performance we'll get there. Not quite sure on... Yeah,
do you think the campaign would have been different with McGregor and Jota playing every game, and maybe Starfelt as well? I
think Jota especially. I think he gives us something electric in that final third that might have helped us in the two home games. Another one here, Canes and Boys, noble to commit to playing our way all the time, but we had the toolkit to compete in Europe, naive not to. I think there'll be a lot of people feeling like that. I mean, it's not necessarily a view I share, but I just wanted to put that comment up because obviously to give as wide a breadth of opinions, as possible. I do think there is a feeling amongst the support that we don't need to radically change the way we play, but perhaps just making a few tweaks here and there would pay off. I feel like sometimes we're committing too many men forward, especially in these set piece positions. If we're going to commit so many men forward and then waste the set pieces with tippy tappy football that the opposition can capitalise on and counter on, then I think we're on a hiding to nothing at times, and that's been ultimately the way that Shakhtar have scored against us both times, unfortunately.
I mean, my big frustration, looking at these home games, and we did it for the first half against Real Madrid, and I just really felt that getting the fans on side would be major in these home games. And I mean, I don't feel the atmosphere has been amazing in these home games, and I think a fair bit of that is down to just the way we've played at times. I just wanted to see us going after teams a bit more when we're not in possession. Maybe that's daft from my point of view. Maybe we would just get played through and picked off. Maybe, Ange certainly knows better than me, but the amount of times, in that game tonight, I'm just asking if they're passing it around the back, and it was the same against Leipzig. I just want us to really go for them and see what happens, because it just feels like when these opposition teams go through phases of having the ball, the atmosphere just goes completely, and Celtic Park becomes an easy place to play. I think that's my big frustration from this campaign.
I mean, like always, I think after all of these European games, because they've all ended in some sort of frustration along the way, even the 1-1 game, in Warsaw ended in a frustration. I think it's really important we bounce back with a big performance and a win against Livingston. Another big game again. And I'm not suggesting there's any sort of enormous pressure on the team, because that's silly, but I do think, we need to, make sure that we don't kind of let these European results impact us domestically, because the last week or so before tonight was really promising in terms of really putting our foot on the throat of teams, and that's what we're going to all want to see for the remainder of the domestic season, and it starts again against Livingston. I mean, are you just feeling like the Madrid game's a bit of a write-off now, a bit like that Betis game last year, or do you think Ange will have one eye on the Bernabeu? now, even though we've got nothing to play for.
Who have we got the following weekend?
I don't
Dundee
actually.
United at home.
I think it's a home game. Yeah. So we've got Livingston away, Real Madrid, and then a home game. I think Livingston's the biggest game over the next week now. It's bigger than this Real Madrid game.
Do you want to just say crazy statements? Livingston's a bigger game than Real Madrid. I agree with you.
But it is. It's a bigger game now. We've just got to totally refocus and put all our energies into this domestic stuff. Like, I'm looking at this Real Madrid game now and just kind of glad that's the actual day I'm moving. So I'm glad that I'm off and I'm not having to think about it. In fairness, I will watch, obviously, and you're going, unfortunately, so I don't want to talk it down too much, but it feels very much a distraction. It's funny how quickly it turns, because had we got a late goal tonight, that Madrid game would have been the biggest of the season so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think for fans it's still going to be a great trip. You're looking at a guy who went to Cluj for that meaningless game under Neil Lennon when we'd already qualified and had a great time. So I think Madrid's going to be all right. I think for fans, going to the Bernabeu, for me personally, I'm still looking forward to it. In terms of the game itself, I don't know. Ange may do what he did in against Bodo Glimt in the second leg. He may. I get the impression, given that it's our final European match for at least like 9-10 months, I get the impression that he'll probably want to get as much out of it as possible for the squad, and I think we may well see a full strength team or close to it, but I feel the same way. I'm not massively excited for watching the game, because as I say, they're going to want to win the group. I mean, they don't want to finish second, and they may have to get a result again. Well, we may have to win against us to win the group, and I don't fancy going up against their big guns knowing they need to win, because they've not won either of the last two, have they?
No, no, and that's the thing. It's just about making sure. I think the big thing for me has been worried about going there and taking something damaging, because we just don't want that to affect confidence for the other matches. That's not my big thing about this Madrid game, but. Looking forward, we'll see what Ange says about tonight. I'm sure you'll be back on the channel tomorrow with a bit of reaction. I think we'll leave it there for now. Is there anything else you want to cover from tonight about going to the match, about the game itself, or anything?
Yeah, I mean, Celtic Park's a quiet place now. It's been quiet throughout this video. And we are, for people watching this, afterwards, we are recording this. We started this 15 minutes after full time, maybe 20 at a push, and it just felt as if a lot of people were away very early. There was kind of people leaving before full time, which I'm not going to criticise people, it's up to them, but it just felt as if everyone at that stage kind of wanted up their own. I think that just kind of sums up this Champions League campaign. It's really not lived up to the hype, and I'm heading up the road as well now, mate. So I think I'm getting a lift actually, so I should probably head and get my pal.
So you changing the name of your book to Despondent or Up the Road?
We'll go with Despondent. How about that? That kind of sums it up at the moment. But no, it doesn't, Ange, if you're watching.
Right. Well, we'll put this week behind us in a few different ways, and be back and looking forward to the weekend. Thanks for joining me, Hamish. Thanks for joining us in the chat. If you were live with us in the chat, thanks for joining us after the fact as well. If you want to get involved with the comments and get involved with the debate below the line, I'm sure there'll be plenty of chat. There is a fair bit of anger out there as well, along with the comments that I've been putting up on the screen. A lot of people frustrated with specific players, a lot to get into, so I'm sure there'll be all sorts of reaction and chat over the next few days. But for now, we've been 67 Hail Hail, and we'll catch